You're muted, Dave.
The mic turned on?
Can you hear me now, Brad?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, Brad, I was just bringing up the housekeeping items for the two documents, the March 16th and May 18th. We have a motion from Howard to accept the minutes as written for Monday, March 16th. We're just looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second from Brad. Is there any further discussion? I'll ask those in favor to please say aye.
Aye.
We have an aye also from Brad. Oh, there's Fred. Give me a second. Just give me a second to get sat down. We're just approving some minutes right now. And then I have before me the minutes from Monday, May 18th, and I'd like to look for a motion for that, please.
So moved.
I have a motion from Kay. Would you like to second, sir? Brad?
Yeah.
Sure.
All those in favor? Aye.
You don't click the
Aye.
Zoom.
Is there any opposed? Thank you. Okay, I think we'll just stick with the items as written. We'll start with the discussion about the North Judson Wayne Library. I know we have a few questions about it, at least I do. So if I could just set the stage for this, if you don't mind, because we've gotten some information. I just want to make sure that it's accurate. But what's been provided for us, it sounds like you had the repairs done that we discussed last year, but they did a poor job of it. So you're looking for an additional appropriation to.
We're actually going to remove the windows.
Sure.
We're going to remove the windows because that's what's causing it, and actually just wall in the walls.
Right.
So it's going to eliminate the problem completely. And they also told us when we got the last quote that we would have to replace the windows every 20 years or so, which would cost about $20,000 each time. And so we want to eliminate that as well, because if we get rid of the windows, then we won't have that additional cost that we.
Actual light that you get from the windows, though.
Yeah.
So I guess the concern I had with that is you've already paid somebody, and so did you sue the bond of the company that previously did the work?
They have given us a discount to the
So they gave a discount on the complete amount that you spent on the last job?
yeah, for the labor, the materials we still have to pay for.
Not sure in the case of if they have a contract to perform the repair, I'm not sure if that's legitimate to not return the whole thing. Especially if
And
they have a bond.
I don't know if I can really give an opinion on studying all the facts or whether, what would cause.
Yeah.
Was it, was it just something, a risk that was, entailed in the project? If you see what I'm saying, I know
Right.
you go get your car work done, sometimes they get it fixed and sometimes they
Right.
don't, right?
Right.
So I don't know,
But not reading their original contract either, whether it even had
Yeah,
wording
right.
that was guaranteed on the warranty.
Right.
I think personally, this is the problem that I have with it as the president of the council, is that this is one of the worst times ever that we could start looking at additional appropriations.
Yeah.
However, if the council would agree with me as well, I think that instead of just completely striking this away, I think I'd like to have some more information for us to, for our attorney to better review what you have and then see what the obligation would have been of the vendor. And, honestly, like even with what's going on now with the economy, even 20,000 will be better than 50,000, or you know what I mean? Or maybe suing them and recovering all of it and getting another vendor. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the commissioners usually operate, but I think when we have a vendor that fails in a project, we usually look possibly for a different vendor. I'm not sure, but I guess I'm
Depends on the
just,
circumstances.
so, but not knowing more about the circumstances, I think we'd just like to get more information. But I'll defer to my colleagues. But I would personally like to look for We have a motion from Mr. Sims to table, and we have a second from Freddie to table. Is there any further discussion? Did you have any further discussion on that? Does that meet your expectations, at least for now, just to?
Yeah.
Yes. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to get information on the original contract to
So
Marty.
like the one for 20 years ago, or?
Just recently you had it repaired, correct? Yes, and then it failed, correct?
Yeah.
We'd like to have more information about
Okay.
that. And also the contractual obligation that you had with your vendor, so we can see, a discount in this case. And so recently having that happen, I'm just not sure if that's acceptable by government standards on, the contract that you normally have with a government entity to repair something, so. Yes, over here.
Yes. The top page, that was something that Dave sent in an email. It's basically just saying that if for some reason we fall under a,
Sorry, it's just drying.
a
Sure.
binding review, that you guys would be the ones that.
Yes, so let me just pass that to Marty, because he's gonna have to. I believe we could execute that for you, but let's, sure. Yes.
There is pictures of the water damage.
Yeah, let me pass that to the. No, I'm just letting you look at it. I'll pass it to the rest of the council, and then, are those for us to keep?
Yes.
State of Indiana has become much more strict about any fiscal bodies
Mhm.
paying for something, but then paying for it again. I mean, it's from healthcare all the way, through services like that. So. Sure.
And then we'll have to we have to redo our notice of taxpayer.
Unless you want to vote, we're still in discussion for this. So I mean, unless you insist that you want us to vote on it now, I just, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we have enough.
We'll have to look at the calendar for the notice of taxpayer today. It might Is it gonna be 5:30, 9 o'clock?
I'm just going to guess for right now. I'm thinking that we will do our normal 5:30 next week since the next meeting. Well, I'm just saying that based on people that we have working during the day and things like that, it seems like 5:30 was something that we originally came up with. This was temporary, so let's just set it at 5:30 now and we'll go with it.
Okay, is this on the floor for action, the declaration?
If we're just declaring as a fiscal
Report.
body, I believe, we don't have to advertise that, do we, as a specific item?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't
So
think
we
they
could act on
advertise
that.
it, But I'm just asking you, you're asking for action. I want to ask a couple questions about it. I mean, tell us a little bit about the background on this.
We got that from the Indiana, it's something that the state library needs from us.
Right, is it
Basically
from the
saying-
DLGF?
Yes.
Okay, and so the purpose of it, I mean, I'm not really questioning, I think it looks right. I just hadn't reviewed this prior to the meeting is all. And so what it's saying is that a non-binding review, but if there were the conditions triggered for a binding review, a separate fiscal body, that would be the county council in this case, because you're the Northchester and Wayne Township,
Yes.
and
but
so the majority of the
Is
people.
in Wayne Township rather than Northchester.
Right, exactly. Just wanted to have that in the record. I think that's my understanding of the way the rule works. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So, and I mean, and do you know right offhand what the difference in the pocket? I mean, I as a person who lives there, I think that's correct, but I don't know
I
the
do
numbers
not,
right
but I
offhand.
did ask the state about it, and they told me that the DLGF.
Not to be like picky, but I think in order to adopt this, there should be a record made of that
I
number.
can-
You see what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Dave?
Let me see what
I
I
think
can
it's
find.
true, but I just think we need, before you adopt it, you should enter into the record that the population of Wayne Township outside North Judson exceeds the population and that this library has, it's
That there's
tax base
that there's
is
authority though
North
to,
Judson, Wayne Township, right? You
okay,
see what I'm saying?
yes.
I think those facts need to be like, you should be in the record supporting the adoption of this. I think they're
Right.
true, but I, don't have the facts.
Does that make sense?
You know,
And actually, I mean, you could do this the next time if you want. I mean, that way it doesn't put you on the spot on trying to find it now. And
yeah,
I'll just-
I don't know that you need to actually do until October, right? So that could be submitted, and
Yeah. so
you could
in a
send
letter-
us that information in a
in
letter.
a letter,
yeah.
and then that would be sufficient, I think.
Well, that's what I was saying.
I
Like
all
that.
I got was more than 50%.
Right. I just think there should be like, I would like to have, the number is X and X, right? I mean, in the citations of the statute. I mean, once again, I just happened to read all this stuff, and I think this is all
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I just got their numbers, they said it's more than 50% of the numbers.
I'll just ask the council to go ahead and pass down your additional resolution paperwork if you have some. Did you pass one on these to everyone? Okay, good. I'm just saving trees. Okay, thank you. We'll see you next meeting.
Okay.
Is that a month or?
Yeah, it'll be the third Monday in July,
Okay.
5:30.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Prosecutor, please.
As you know, Dr. Jordan, I requested, I hired somebody to fill that role. She, person filled out her June center. She needed second of experience, and she. I believe it's 15.25 an hour. I'm looking at that to be raised, that would be taking into consideration her experience, as well as the fact that I want to make sure we use as much background as possible, so that we can be advised that we will be on somehow shorted in the future. Well, I have not gotten confirmation on that from the person who's kind of so I'm expecting that the just
Marty, in terms of positions that are created by a grant entity, do those still fall under the salary ordinance? Okay. Commissioners, is this something that you've already approved and advised on?
I don't remember that we approved it, actually.
Well, I think it was.
Increase, right. But I mean, still, that would normally, any kind of pay increase would normally go through the county executive just because it's, it's a budgeted item. We would approve a position, but as far as giving an individual an increase, salary ordinance.
It was my understanding that that's just a council. Our job description is already there, it's already a
So you want to go from 1625. Okay. So I guess for me, the only concern I had was, you hire somebody, they want to take a job, and I know that it's grant money, you want to spend it. They accept the job for one, pay rate, and then it's going to be raised by 50%.
I understand.
And
We all understand that when we apply for this grant next year.
so now you just got to my reason for my question about the salary ordinance. And so does that afford us the ability to reverse somebody's pay? That's usually okay, but I'm just saying, for some reason, if there's something outbreak or something, we don't redo the salary ordinance under our current standards. Are we allowed to take somebody that's paid by the government and reduce their pay? I just don't want us to get in.
You are, as long as you're not an elected official, you are. And it doesn't mean that that somebody isn't going to question it, of course. I mean, that's the kind of thing that unfortunately would have some risk of generating litigation.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Right,
It's just trying to minimize
I will say
our risk.
in my opinion, there's no reason that you can't cut the salary of an established employee, right? In theory, but if you had an employee that came up with some theory why that was retaliatory in an improper way or something of that nature, right? So it's the classic thing that we always experience of, Indiana is, at least allegedly at will employment state, right? But we nevertheless do have like more than one litigation that looks like a person who's an at will employee, complaining about, either being fired or as well. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I know it's kind of a fork-tongued answer to a simple question.
Yeah.
Couldn't we put in their or whoever in their job description that their pay is based on the amount of grant money received?
Yeah, I think we could put that in there. I guess, just personally, I'm just, want to make sure we cover the ethics too of, hey, there's more grant money more there. We originally decided this is what we would pay somebody on a grant. There's more grant money, so we want to spend it all. You know what I'm getting at?
Well, grant money is still taxpayer.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, I mean, I'm not quite sure I heard everything. You want to go to 25 because you've had this grant since the first of the year, so you have extra funds to pay. Is that, and then next year you're not going to have extra funds to pay that 25 an hour?
The ultimate goal for position is to seek out to funds for the conversion grant. And actually that grant just opened up I think last week. And we're starting to write that grant for our statistics to hopefully achieve the university. So, in my mind, if her rate pay were to stay at $25 an hour, this is including any purchase.
I do know that prosecutor's rewritten her and has a pretty good diversion protocol for putting people into the diversion program. And I think that ultimately ends up saving the taxpayers money by not having to house them in the jail. Assuming all that works. But I don't personally have any problem with that, but I guess I'd like to know what other counties are paying their diversion officers.
So we're going to do something that actually has to do that. And their counties there. Pretty substantial diversion. Just because it's just not something that we have. so I don't know. What, any of them, how it's going that just because of the population is such a. Goal of this program, from my perspective, is that, even though the people who are participating in the version aren't on population section, we're looking at it and looking at.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered. Is that kind of the same salary that they make when probation is 52, 50-ish? Because that's about a $50,000 a year job, so.
Right, and so, Jamie comes to me with lots of connections and, just the ability to help put people where they need to work in the services. She has all of that experience, I think that because she has that type of experience.
Let me just put this in the right context too. I think you're doing a great job as a prosecutor. What I'm just concerned about is on this side though, my job's more on the fiscal side, and so we arrived at 1625 originally because that's one of our clerk pays or.
Well, that is what, so this grant funds a reentry coordinator. That's, yeah.
But we came up with 1625 because we already pay somebody in that similar category with similar responsibility, similar workload, 1625, correct? All right. It sounds like you're saying that people that do that kind of work sometimes also make $25 an hour. We kind of just have to take your word on that. In the future, I'd like to have a little more background maybe on how you're, building something like this up, just so we understand, because obviously we're not attorneys and, they're involved in things like that. But does any of the council have any further discussion?
I would just say that I think Howard's suggestion of putting it into the job description, that, our position is funded by grant money. And I mean, I'm not saying that's bulletproof, but I do think at least it shows that person on notice. And what you don't want to do is create a contract, so that way you're not creating a contract, you're just giving notice of that. I do think it's still somewhat,
We've been getting a lot of human resources training lately from AIC and other things that council and commissioners are involved in. And so, we always want to protect ourselves as well, but also we want to do something ethical for the employee and for the taxpayer. So are you willing to do that?
Sure, I can have the job description.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any other input on that?
No, the only I got to do, if it's funded exclusively and it's in the job description by grant money, what happens if grant money dries up? Does she get unemployment?
I think that person would still qualify for unemployment. Yes. I mean, you could terminate their position, and that's a fairly bulletproof, termination. You see, I'm saying you can show that the funding for that position went away, then you shouldn't have any problem unless somebody can try to make some argument that it's a pretext. But it's authentic and it's a widespread thing that happens at other places. I think you'd be fine there. But yeah, I think you probably still owe unemployment. It's not a contract. And I don't think you'd want to do it by contract.
No, I agree with that. Yes.
I mean, that's an option, but
I just wondered if that would change the unemployment at all.
I think it's unemployment. That's a classic example of a person that's just like someone being furloughed because there's no work in the factory, right?
Yeah. It falls under redundancy guidelines from the state that we move it. If there's no further discussion, I'll look for a motion to approve or deny from the council.
I'll make a motion with those stipulations that if the contract goes away, then.
And also the change in the wording of
And
the
the
job
change in-
description.
right.
It is, so I have a motion from Fred and a second from Kay. Is there any further discussion from the council? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay?
Yes. You have to have been the salary ordinance to offer us that payment. If that's above the current pay scale under the salary ordinance.
Okay, this is why I was asking salary ordinance questions, and you said, oh, no, it's okay. So,
No.
okay,
She said,
so I'm,
no, she said that it's under the salary ordinance. I mean, which we agreed on, actually.
so we also need a second motion But what's the best way to word that though? I mean, it's still covered that to be able to utilize that extent
Well, you
of
can
pay.
pay
That's
less
all
than
it's
the
going to
salary
council.
ordinance anytime you want to, right? The salary ordinance is the maximum compensation.
Right. That's kind of how we structured it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. You just have to raise for that position only.
What's the name of the position again? I need a motion from the council that to allow the ability to exceed the pay for diversion officer for this grant funded position.
Well, and amend the salary ordinance.
You need to amend the salary ordinance.
Well, an amendment for the salary ordinance to reflect that.
To reflect that. Yeah,
So can you say it in your own?
You make a motion to amend the current salary ordinance for 2020. Current pay of the diversion officer to $25 an hour.
I make a motion to raise the salary of amend the salary ordinance to raise the pay of the diversion officer to $25 an hour
For 2020.
for the year of 2020.
Second. I'll second.
Is all those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Sheriff? We've been having some sort of pre-budget, trying to put some pre-budget things together because we know that one of the bumpy things has been the sheriff retirement program, and we promised that we would revisit that sooner than later and not wait till the end to try to see what's going on. We know that there are funds that obviously we don't know what's there or what's available. So what we want to know, because obviously here's the, we already know that for 21, the county needs to cut 15% out of all budgets. Okay. That's from the state, not from us. But I'm just afraid of how that's going to impact your ability for the retirement program. So we don't have to have 100% of that today. It's more of a pre-budget thing for some of the big entities, which is sheriff and EMS. We kind of want to keep hold of some of the.
I do know that I don't understand why we can't designate that towards our retirement. It's give or take, no less than 100 and probably no more than 140.
So that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, they're laying off 5,000 people from
Or
Michigan City alone.
it's gonna get impacted a lot. We get about 100 to 8,000 a year. And that's drastically went down in the last 10 years.
So what you're saying, Bill, is the excess of the $100,000 to $140,000 that's going in the county general fund. But
I would like that to be designated towards our retirement on the line item.
So much for the county general, but then you would have to up the county general budget of that amount to pay for the sheriff's retirement.
But we created its own line that we could fill whatever we think we're going to forecast that we need as close as possible. So we would stick that money in there. So that's the only area that you're willing to submit any
That's really
extra from?
that's really the only money we've got that's not accounted. I shouldn't say not accounted for, but we don't have all of our TC money is ate up. It's probably 95% spent before we can get it.
Then I think we'll move the rest of it to the budget hearing. I mean, obviously we're going to have a budget hearing with the sheriff's department. We always do because they have so much, just such a massive amount of different things. We'll take that into consideration then, and we may have some more questions that'll be better for that time to ask. Well,
Say you're not gonna be able to, but you know, that would.
I think we might have to ask some other auditors what they're doing with their pension. I didn't know if you did, so I didn't want to put you on the spot, so sorry.
You're having to do that, and most of
Sorry.
it comes out of their account. You're gonna have to go through that for a lot of season.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking more on 2021. I know you added it, but I'm just saying the funds that we thought we were going to collect, we are not going to collect in 21.
22 is where we're gonna fall short for the season.
I'm saying is we're going to fall short of riverboat money today. 20, 21, 22. Instead of dragging it out too much, why don't we wait till we do that in a workshop, I think. You know, so.
Well, we came up with different ideas to try to help fund it. I mean, we're strapped. We're at about the bottom. TC will take a hit. It's where we get a lot of our money from due to the COVID up at Westville and the DOC. We're not accepting any inmates until they that are under control. Right now, we have a huge outbreak up in Westville.
You know, if there's any discussion or any lobbying from the jail and sheriff's organizations to try to get some of that federal money that's going to the state also, you know, to jails.
I don't know. I haven't heard
seen
anything
any,
yet.
but,
No.
but I know that the governor said again that that's why we're still in a state of emergency too, is the governor is still trying to get federal money. But maybe you could check into that for us, some of your jail.
Do you have a dollar figure you think that your income, you know, that your revenue reduction would be, that you projected for this year based on
I can give you a roundabout dollar
just
amount,
even a ballpark off the top of your head? Now, just give me an idea. We're talking like, you know,
maybe
50,000.
30, 40,000,
Okay.
50,000,
Right.
somewhere in there, because, you know,
I am, and the reason I'm asking, there are some options, there are some things coming up for, you know, more long-term COVID relief. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if they'll qualify, but that's something I could look at to
Thank
see
you.
whether we could get some, it seems like, you know, one of the issues we have here, there's this relief money out there, but we have to be able to document the connection to the COVID outbreak. And thankfully, we haven't had a lot of it here, actually, you know, in our country. So I don't know what the commissioners would have to think about this too, but that's something we could look at as a place we might, you know, seek some compensation to try to reach that. Well, I mean, these long-term, there's various, I see various COVID relief funds, right? And one of the issues that we have a lot of times, you know, it's important to be able to document that you have a direct impact from the COVID pandemic, right? And that seems like, to me, that's a direct impact from the COVID and you know, pandemic. We have lost revenues in the jail to try to keep the COVID out of there. You know, and it might be worth looking for because it's a significant amount of money.
Yeah,
I don't know
thank you.
if
That,
there's anything, but
if you could, that would be great. I mean,
so we're looking at maybe $40,000, $50,000, something like that.
I mean, I think the shortfall that we're going to realize even this year is going to be pretty substantial. That, you know.
anymore. So we have a contract with the state for 48 inmates maximum. Right now, I think we're 32 or 34. With those people graduating the classes, the number's going to go down. Usually we graduate, they stagger them sometimes. So 2 or 3 will graduate in 3 or 4 weeks, and then another 2 or 3 in another 4 weeks. So we could be down to 20 or something like that.
Because they're recommending TC.
Right. I would.
Is that driven by also the jail organization that you can't, like, do you think you'll be accepting inmates this year, or is there a projection of that, or like when it
I
might
would
restart?
assume probably after August or September. Just, we're not taking any outside inmates from other counties, vice versa, other counties aren't taking any.
They provide you any testing through the
Yes.
health department? Okay, good. So I think we'll just let you know when we're going to do budget workshops, and then we'll just kind of pick this up and carry it with them. I just didn't want that to sit there, and we promised to revisit that, and, so I'll give you an extra chance to look at some other areas, because that could be the one thing that, even though we promised it, we didn't expect this to happen either, so the money we already collect for that, is going to be gone, and, any respected money, so we'll just have to put it together. Council of Commissioners for the Sheriff's Department.
Just to be clear, I don't think we're going to be defunding our sheriff's department anytime soon.
Yeah, I wasn't even, yeah, no, we're not, no, we appreciate our law enforcement very much in our counties.
Just want to let you guys know, we have, during this whole COVID, at the jail or any employees, just conference calls with other sheriffs. Porter County had, I believe, over 13 inmates, plus 5 or 6 employees. So we've been pretty good. The jail staff has been pretty stringent on screening inmates, taking the temperatures and getting their symptoms prior to letting them in. So the judge and prosecutor has been.
That's great and newsworthy, because I believe there were rumors around the county that there was at least one, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm glad you said that, at least for the, because the media can put that out too. And, go out
We've been
on
pretty
Facebook.
fortunate. We've got a good jail staff that's doing.
Burnett. I think everybody expressed feelings, what a good job you guys did on the election.
Thank you. It was the world's longest primary ever. Remember, it had to be on Fun Watch, but
So way back when we started talking about a modified version of how we do our polling sites, we looked at the opportunity of a great reduction in staffing and costs and things like that, and the council made a promise to you about, if we were able to make that happen, that we would provide the funds for, well, not we, the commissioners actually, but that together we discussed that this would be, something that we could fund. And so now you have the paperwork for us.
Yes, in April, the election board voted to go to vote centers. We didn't really publicize it because it was too late to use vote centers for the primary. So I didn't want any confusion with the public. It was still precinct based in May, June. So now we are over the primary, so we need to start publicizing that we are a vote center county now. By the end of the month, I will have the plan sent to the state in order for us to be vote center, we have to have poll books. And use the paper poll books and the vote centers.
So this 44,000, this is the 2-year payment. Like, we're allowed to pay half of that this year and half next year, correct? With no interest.
Correct.
We're at about $6,000 of unspent.
However, there's more money in the Cume cap than that $60,000. It just needs to be appropriated. And we're getting another draw in December.
Correct, Commissioner Arnold.
I know it. I know how this works.
Well, I mean, at this point, just knowing everything else, I mean, taking the money from anywhere else would not be a responsible
We need
action.
to appropriate that
We
fund
need
then
this.
because we have the $60,000 earmarked for other stuff, so.
Mark, would you-
Oh, not between now and the
I mean, do we have to do that right away? What I'd like to do is just, keep an eye on the fund and then we can take action as
Well, I can tell you exactly how much is in there right now. There is $264,783.67. Plenty of money. And that doesn't include
Right.
the draw from December that's coming up.
But I mean, we
so.
don't need it. So, other than that, did the commissioners have a suggestion of where you thought we should take it aside from Cume cap then, since that's
No,
what I
Cume
mentioned?
cap is fine,
Okay,
but I'm asking that you appropriate additional funds to that.
I can't promise that today, but I think that will be doable.
You're just giving him now, Commissioner Norman, I will publish.
Publish that, because,
How much do
and
you want?
actually, while you're at it, publish a little more, because we might need a little more too,
So
so.
$100,000?
Out of the 260, half of it, 130.
130?
I just feel like I'm in a dream with COVID and all these other
Go
things.
ahead and publish that first. Next week.
Because we do need the thing she's wanting, I mean, I agree with that 100%. So, having worked Knox polls.
I have IT looking at me. I just hope it's not new servers and stuff like that again.
No, it's not new servers. No, it is not new servers.
I think the council's pretty well aware of what's going on here. I think we would need a motion for half of that amount, which would be,
So moved.
say, $22,055. That way the next one's $22,000.
So moved,
Are
Dave.
you going to make that motion, or would you like to discuss this further? Brad?
Yeah, I've done it twice now.
Okay, we didn't have, you might have been just turned down too low. Are you making the motion, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion for $22,055 for the start of the e-poll books and start of the payment on it. Is there a second? And a second from Mr. Bailey. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nay? And the aye from Brad also, Rachel. Thank you.
Okay, one more thing. The second page is for printers.
Oh,
If you work the polls, you know how slow our printers are to do our tally tapes. It was a good test in June, the primary, to see how it's going to work, because we had to combine precincts, and the way we combined the precincts was how we are going to have vote centers set up. For those of you that, well, the workers that did, the poll workers that worked in North Judson and in Knox experienced how long the printers should take to print the tapes.
how did they beat me then? Because of this.
Well, because we didn't set up all of our machines.
What?
I'm sorry, we did set up all of our machines, we just didn't use 4 of them. So therefore, when you don't use 4, we were prepared to use them if we had a big overflow, but we didn't, because we had a nice steady stream, so we used the other 6. And so when it came time to print, lickety split, when you only got 0 votes, it prints right off the bat.
But for the new printers, they're.
Of course, it takes a woman to make it faster.
I was
Women
wondering if
take
you were gonna
care
say
of this
that.
stuff, so.
But just
I'm gonna
before you
have
say
fun
that,
in the
though,
last 6 months of my term, honey.
but we're gonna have one of these fast printers per side. I mean, we still own enough for each machine. I don't see how one's gonna make it faster is all I'm gonna say. I'm thinking maybe we should, let's try one out to compare it. I mean,
This printer is 6 times faster than what the printer that we have now.
okay, but
And
if you
if
have
we
6
start-
machines, then you're okay. But I mean, if you have 12 machines, it's not gonna make a difference. And some of these sites had, how many machines did you have at Knox?
We have 10, but we
10.
only use 6.
I promise in the fall, I'm gonna beat you.
You're on.
No, I'm just saying,
You're
no,
on.
I think that you're gonna use all your machines in the fall, I guess, and it's $5,000, but right now we're just in such a crisis. I'm just not sure that few printers is gonna make an impact against, we own one per machine right now. I know they're slow, I've been doing it for 20 years, or one
We
printer
had,
for 3 machines or whatever. We have several
we
printers.
we had one printer per precinct, so that we have 21 printers. Is what we have. I was able to take from certain super precincts, and give, because we were still precinct based, so I can't say vote centers, and give to the larger, like Knox and Judson.
So that's how they do.
That, yes, so they'll still have the printers, but with the added the faster one, it will just speed everything up. And with the vote centers, the tapes are gonna be longer because you're gonna have results from everywhere.
I guess it's a start. If we try with one per precinct, we can always look maybe to increase the amount. Like I said, the math doesn't support making things better with only 7 is all I'm saying. So there's still gonna be a mix of old and new.
I will have to ask for money for this because we programmed our own machines. About $2,700 for the spring. I plan to do the same thing in the fall, which will save the same amount again. We performed our own public test, which saved about $1,000. And I feel that we can do the same thing in the fall again and save that money again. And if that's the case, then I will have the money in the budget to buy the printers myself and not have
There it is.
for the money. So.
Good job
just
on the
take that
election.
up. Thank you. One primary in history.
So when will we receive the e-poll books? Will they be much before the election so everybody can get trained? Because we tried tablets in here and we still own tablets, but you know, I noticed that some of the workers were concerned about their ability. They don't use tablets a lot
If you
now.
look on the quote from No Ink on line 6, it says professional services package for 10 grand. That is training not only the staff on the poll books, but also coming for the first time to train the clerks
Okay,
for the poll books.
good. Okay.
So you'll only get that one time, but at least it's in the general and not the primary name.
Excellent, okay.
No Ink and Microvote
That
will
makes it
be
feel a
here
lot
to
better.
train on.
Because we don't want to create a bottleneck with it, especially if we're not going to have the paper ones there to fall back on if we need to. Like, we need to make sure it's going to be perfect because, again, this is going to, I feel like it's going to be probably a pretty busy election for you. So,
There was, I don't know how many people watch the elections around here, but Georgia uses No Ink, and there was quite a fiasco down there, but it wasn't with the No Ink tablet. Yes, the No Ink tablet was affected, but it was because Georgia does, as a state as a whole, does all their election equipment.
right.
And since they do their own, they had a glitch at the state level, not individual tablets, I guess. So.
Plus, several other counties have already used the e-poll books before, so I mean, we know it's tested in Indiana, so luckily we're not
Indiana,
just trying it in this election. So.
there was no issues with No Ink in any of the Indiana counties. It just happened in Georgia. So it was down there. It wasn't anything here. So I was happy when I found out it was a state level glitch in Georgia, not a No Ink issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we can do the CF ones. And I was going to say, let's do the free budget workshop first. But okay, so we have information from the assessor before us. And they're the CF ones for the abatements that we have for existing companies. And we received one also from Heman. Does everyone have a copy of that or just me on the team? Okay. Does anybody have any questions of the assessor? While you're thinking about that, I'll throw something out there. One of the things that we've been talking about for years, and I know Kathy and Bob and others can speak to this, is we've been talking about abatements, but putting teeth in the abatements to make sure that with abatements that they meet our expectations in terms of, we've been talking more recently about, we'd like to see you hire this number of employees, we'd like to see you pay this much and things like that. I mean,
And you can also, as long as when you're approving the abatement, which these are all, already approved
Right.
prior, you can, have clawbacks, like if they leave the county, they have to pay the taxes that they were
Exactly.
relieved of in the
Exactly.
abatement. But you have to have those things in the actual resolution to begin with, so.
right. And I think
like,
the only
you
one,
can't do that now.
Gary Poppins, though, I believe, had clawbacks in it, if I remember. I just wanted to double check that because that was the more recent one, and I could have sworn we said you're going to hire this many people. They agreed, I should say. We didn't mandate it or didn't guide them on it. They came to us and said we're going to hire this many, pay this much.
I looked at the ones who did fill it out with what they estimated on their SB1, which is supposed to be filled out, what they had estimated on their SB1 and what their actual was. And what they say they estimated on their SB1 is accurate on the ones that did fill it out.
So Gary Poppins, for example, estimated 35 jobs. And I do remember that that was one of the big things. We're going to employ a lot of people. And it says here that they're got 13 employed and they're actually contributing through salaries. The salaries are half as much as what they would have been estimated there. So to me, that seems to be a failure of, this dramatic amount of, especially just employees. I mean, we need jobs in this county. So in terms of that, Marty, since this is fairly new for us, but I think that we need to keep our teeth in on something like this. What's the next phase for?
The big thing with these CF1 is to either approve or deny them. If you're going to deny them, you need to sign the back, mark them as denied with a reason why it's being denied, so that Rachel can mail those out to the people and also give me one so that we don't figure the abatement.
No, we appreciate you doing this. I mean, this is something we've been talking about. We need to update. So,
The
and I'll,
only one that's ever done it is the city of Knox, the city council has denied one, and that's what they do. They write, there's on the page 2, there's a reason for determination. They put in there why they are denying it, and you just need a signature of an authorized member of the designated group, and then it's denied.
Larry, are you here representing any of these entities?
No, I didn't know this on that agenda, but I agree with you, Dave. They don't meet their essence, if they are employing the number of people that they said they're not entitled to the abatement. And I don't know what numbers any of them have. You have that apparently, I don't have a copy of their SB1, which is the original agreement with the county. But I'm not sure Michelle's been able to locate all of them.
I have not located all of them. For example, May Engineering, who did not fill theirs out and turned it in December, which was too late for 2019 and too early for 2020.
I think she'll have to.
Did not have that SB1 filled out. So that's SB1 information. They also didn't have the actual information filled out on it, so it wasn't very useful either way. But the other ones, I did have SB1s for, and what they have on their SB1 matches in that section, matches what they fill out on the CF1. So if it says as estimated, that is correct. That's what they estimate.
Does anyone on the council or commission feel like it would not be a good idea just to maybe meet with these folks and go through these items, make sure before
If you're going to deny it, it has to be done.
Yeah, and they can then appeal that and come here and argue, they can then get put on the agenda to say, hey, we should be, approved and this is why. And sometimes they will say, hey, you know, we said we were gonna hire this many, but something happened in the economy or whatever. And in other counties, some designating bodies do reverse their decision and go ahead and let them have it. Say, okay, you've got 1 more year to get these people hired, or 2 more years to get these people hired, or whatever.
But we
But
do,
you have to, you only have 45 days from today was the due date. I think it's 45 days to deny it and get it out to them.
45 days.
Or whatever.
It's 45 days, then we get,
45?
but
No, it's 30. It's
30. Well,
days.
then I don't want to take the risk on the time, but I mean, we've been saying we're going to put teeth in this. It's time for us to put teeth on it.
My concern, Dave, my concern is looking at the specific here, Gary Poppins.
Yes, sir.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but he projected he was gonna hire 35 employees, and he's got 13, less than half of what he estimated. A lot less. With that being said, I would assume out of prudency that if something, a stress in the economy or something was going on where he couldn't fulfill that obligation, he would have been back in front of one of us, the board in general, and explained his situation.
Yes.
Nobody's heard from
Larry, has the Economic Development Foundation heard anything lately from Gary Poppins?
No, I mean, there is circumstances where if, say, look,
Right.
I'm trying to, I want
I'm
to
with
get to
you.
that point, I'm just not there yet, but we haven't heard that.
I'm with you, and the thing is, they can appeal. So I mean, the way to get them in front of us is to deny. But I'm just going to throw this out there. When I look at American Oak has always exceeded what they were going to do. I think we could all agree on that. We don't have an SB1 here from May Engineering.
Can I suggest on that one? I mean, I think, you know, we might consider on May Engineering just denying it because it's the incomplete application.
I was just going to say,
Right.
I think we should deny May Engineering.
No problem. We have one in today. I talked to them this morning.
Okay, they can appeal it then.
Yeah, today is the due date.
Okay, and then Keeman Industries, I mean, it's a small operation. They've met their expectations. And then I think that Gary Poppins, we need to get in front of us and talk to us about where they're at. I mean, we did something for them. I mean, I don't think that's picking on them or anything else, but we've got to start following up on that. And that's why you're here to help us with this.
These aren't signed within that 30 days with automatic approval. So you don't actually have to sign the approval ones, but you do need to sign any that you think are not.
So
Somebody needs to sign them today.
as I have them stacked here, I'm just going to go through these then. Would the council agree that for American Oak, we're okay with where they stand? Yes.
Yes.
Commissioners also. As far as Keeman Industries, again, we have their information here. They've met their expectations. So that, the one on top here I have is May Engineering. Would someone like to make a motion
I
to
make a
deny?
motion that we deny it. And also, Mary, or,
I think we'll make those in separate motions.
I'll make the
Just-
motion that we deny.
Yeah.
When you're on, they didn't fill out the proper paperwork.
They sent one in December of 2019 that is not completely filled out. It doesn't say whether it was for 19 or 20. And it was already too late for 19 and too early for 20. So I do not.
Sure, they'll send one in today, one right, take on that.
If they.
Well, I appeal. I have a motion for disapproval from Commissioner or Councilman Baker on the basis of not having a complete CF1 from May Engineering. Is there a second? And a second from Kay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. And then I have before me the CF1 from Gary Poppins. Just to review what we have the main thing we're looking at, the Councilman Bailey brought up was the fact that they had committed to at least 35 employees, and their actual number is only 13. I'm looking for a motion to deny the CF1 for Gary Poppins. Is that based on do we have a second?
Yes.
A second from Fred. Is there any further discussion? Marty, did you have something?
You know, I think you got it, but I mean, just the failure to substantially comply would be the way I'd phrase it. failed to substantially comply with the representations of employment without explanation.
Modify that, Bob.
Make a motion to deny until they fulfill
Just for the record, I mean, would you agree that it should fairly substantially comply with the employment and development
That
requirements?
is the wording on the floor, and that's why you say.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever heard that since they.
We need to. Are you okay with your second on that amendment? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Yes, the total amount of abatement, let's see, was,
Very common information, page 20, I shouldn't have it here, I'm sorry. For the real property, they had a deduction of $266,100 off of their assessed value before the tax rate was applied. And for their personal property, they got, also for 1920, because that's they got $645,820 removed from their assessment before the tax rate was applied.
Okay, what does that translate exactly?
It would depend on the tax rate for Center Township, whatever the tax rate was for Center Township. Tax rate information.
did we vote? Did we vote? We voted, didn't we?
You voted, you did vote, you got to vote on that.
Just making sure that we got that. Okay,
And, you know, and Michelle, you said that in the course of the appeal, one of the things can be done is an adjustment to not just merely a denial or an acceptance, right?
so two things that I wanted to accomplish with the adding that about the pre-budget workshop and the budget workshop. I'm calling this a pre-budget workshop because I asked Rachel to provide you with a budget status. And so what I wanted to determine today was there anybody in trouble with their budget? And it's been a couple weeks since I checked on Gateway, but
The only one I saw that has spent more than 50% of their budget was Purdue Cooperative Extension. Everyone else is about at the midpoint of their budgets, and we're at about the midpoint here, because I looked.
The only one that's not accurate is the highway department, because I have not transferred some of their.
What about 41%? And about what? 41%.
so what I'd like you to do is keep this, just look and think about each one of these departments before we have our budget workshop. And then I think we had some thoughts about some possible dates for a budget workshop when we were talking.
Yeah, I want you to set it today. I don't care
Yeah,
what
I know,
day
but
it
didn't
is,
we,
but I
didn't we
want you
talk
to
about a
set it.
date?
Yeah, we did.
I think before we've had the budget workshop on the same day as our meeting. Haven't we?
And we all get
Right,
whatever you want.
because I remember Kathy Norman was supposed to buy pizza.
Oh, was I?
No, I bought pizza, you bought the dessert.
Oh, okay. Well, this year I think you should buy everything, Dave.
It'll be a,
It'll be my going away
as
party.
I say.
There you go. Yeah. what the
Don't
heck?
forget, I'm also suffering from
Dig deep.
COVID
Dig deep in that pocket, Dave.
budgets. So what was that, July?
20th?
Next meeting.
20th.
Brad
I
said the
heard Brad
20th.
say July 20th.
Brad, is that something reasonable for you? I mean, because I know you're going to be super busy all through the summer. Would that be better for you on doing it the same day as our meeting?
It's as good as any other day.
Okay. What about everybody else?
July 20th at 9 a.m.
I think we started at 6:30 last
In the morning?
week. You sleep too much. Bob, is that okay with you also? Howard? That's good. Okay, let's set it for that date. Obviously, it was more even from the state, but as we discussed earlier, the supervisors and office holders know what their expectation is with their budget this year. Compared to next year, though, they know where they're to be at. I think that
We're gonna be higher no matter what, because there's 20.
then hopefully people come in even, see, you're not optimistic. People may come in so low that it's not a
I've already
factor.
seen the budgets that come in.
So here, the thing is, I think that we'll just practice the same thing, the large budgets, which I mentioned earlier, the sheriff's department, EMS, the ones that normally, need some discussion, we'll automatically prepare them to be called in. The other ones, if they're on the money, I know you're laughing, and I know why you're laughing, but I'm just saying, there still may be some that, are able to, work their
So
budget.
we'll call in any that I would recommend too, right?
Yes, of course. But,
They're all coming in.
okay, then we will schedule everybody a time point if everybody's coming in. But I just, the thing is that I don't want to give the image that there's some possibility of some increase over this year's budget even, because the state is, the DLGF is very certain about what's going to happen.
Well, my counsel is, I can tell them I'm willing to pay to use that meeting, but I think it needs to come from.
I believe that the council is saying that in this
day.
meeting right now, that
But
I don't want to do it
that
that,
is not
I don't
here.
want to wait till that date. What I'm saying is, our staff, we say something, that's correct, staff, they should find that out today, correct? Yes, so we are advising them, correct, council, that we would like them to prepare this in advance, because we'll be here all day. If we have to sit down with every department and figure out how they can carve out 15 to 30% out of their budget, we will not be able to accomplish that in time for our meeting.
Well, no.
Thank you. Is there any other business for the council before we ask the commissioners to resume their meeting? The council, Marty, Rachel, anybody in the audience? Commissioners, do you need us for anything else?
Oh, I might warn you though, I'm gonna submit a little budget for the park board for next year.
Just as long as your budget is 15 to 30% lower than this year.
That'd be a real tough thing to do, since right now your budget is zero.
No. I'm saying for the commissioner's budget and the general budget, as long as we meet
Well,
that,
you
we're
can
gonna be
pay
okay.
for it out of CEDA. The CEDA fund. And the skill, they're 80,000 anymore. That's where you can pay for it from. Economic development tool as well. Having a park fund.
I think we'll save that for the budget workshops then, when you have the ideas how the commissioners will propose that to us, since we don't have any authority to. But is there
I'm
anything
just
else in our
telling you in
motion?
advance. So
I'm gonna forget. I already know. Is there a motion for the
I'll make a
council?
motion.
We have a motion from Mr. Baker to adjourn. Is there a second? Second from Kay. All those in favor, aye? Be careful out there, Brad.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Take care. Thank you.
hey,
I'll do it. Yeah, all right.
Right. But that's where I'm going. Yeah. I was thinking about.
That's the only thing that I should have said, Rachel, is that's the job.
yeah,
Right. Yes.
You know,
There's so much paper.
Well, this is all your council stuff.
Oh.
I'm gonna give you your commissioner stuff now.
I know yours. You have to reject it based on, like, DLGF actually.
There was like 3 days or 3 minutes
We'll do it at the next one.
Something like this. I mean,
I think I just need a, yeah, I just need a signature from you on that. That's
one more thing I like to know.
one of the things that I'm kind of changing, you know, that rural life is such a responsibility.
We're gonna go ahead and continue with our meeting. First up would be Sean Kane with Kirksey for the.
I don't see Sean here.
She's
Oh.
yeah, she's on the monitor.
Oh, okay.
Good morning.
Sean. How are you?
I'm good. How is everyone?
So you're here, we just need to sign this grant agreement with Kirksey, right, for the COVID?
That's
project?
correct.
Okay.
You can see her here now.
Oh.
There we
Okay, all right. Can you see us?
I cannot. I can see Marty.
Okay.
Well, I did.
Okay, well, Marty's over here now, so
That's okay. That's all right.
I don't know if where we're sitting you can see us, but we can see you on the,
That's okay.
okay.
I don't mind.
I think it's just their typical
Right.
grant agreement. Did you see it, Marty? The Kirksey grant agreement for the COVID emergency project.
Oh, well, okay,
Was that this one, Rachel?
They're standard, yes, they're standard.
Yeah.
Motion approved.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the contract as presented.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Second call, make sure that it's actually the right person. Oh, yeah.
That's the only signature we need, then, I believe, in here, right? Where's there?
And Rachel, you found that, I think you said you found a day where this is spot get approved in the minutes, right? You put that. Anyway, that date, it could go in, after, you know, this is on, this was, set it back. I wanted to reflect the fact that it had actually been approved before it happened. Even though we hadn't had a written motion, the written resolution there, Okra hadn't specified that a written motion resolution was required at that point. Later on, we decided it was, so that's why we didn't do it.
Sean, do we, now our grant that we had for the broadband assessment, that's all taken care of and everything's closed out on that?
It is not, Kathy. Have you guys named an individual yet?
No.
That's what we're waiting on. We need to have you name that individual, and then once you do that, then we can have that final public hearing after we have IEDC's blessing on the county as being broadband certified, and then we'll hold the public hearing, and then we'll be able to close that out.
Oh, I guess we did.
Yeah, in fact, we did.
Yeah.
They appointed the plan commission in charge of that.
We need one person specifically. If you remember, we were talking about that in the last meeting, that we needed one individual.
You have to name them or the position.
An actual name, a person.
Can at this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Want to
Pam
do a-
Starkey.
do a
Pam Starkey?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, we'll get that moving then. And once IEDC has approved the county as broadband certified, then we'll get to go ahead, and that's usually within a week. we'll get to go ahead and schedule the public hearing and move that forward then.
Thank you.
And then is there a motion to approve the relief grant application to Oak Grove?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else, anything else for Sean, I guess?
I don't think so.
I do have one quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
Rachel, have you given me all of the receipts so far, or should I be anticipating additional receipts for that COVID grant?
My office has given you everything up until last week, and we have receipts coming every week.
Every week? Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and submit the first ones we have for reimbursement, and then we'll probably start doing those on a monthly basis, not weekly, because they don't like to have us do too many claims at one time. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll
Okay,
let
great.
office know to send it to you monthly.
Okay, that's fine. You can send them weekly if that works better for you guys, but I'll just hold them and submit them monthly down to Okra.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is Sheriff. I guess you're back about the squad car, huh?
Yep.
I know Brian was saying a little bit about,
So Danny, would be the one going with him to look and make sure there's no crane damage or anything that would be, something that would not be repairable. And,
We're not going to buy it.
How
No
would they-
brain damage, no flood damage.
they would get inspected then after everything's fixed.
Right. By state police.
Now, would that still have like a salvage title then? Or would that
Rebuilt that.
rebuild?
If you think about it, I mean, it's, when it goes back to the county for auction or turn back over, might get $1,500 or $700 out of the whole squad car anyway. And so the resale value, and I mean, you're not going for that.
I just want to make sure everyone's safe when they're being,
Oh, absolutely.
drove.
Well, we got 13 vehicles right now. I think 10 of them have over 125,000.
Because you were looking to get two of them then? Two cars?
New ones?
No, they're rebuild or salvage or
No, I'm
rebuild.
gonna get more than that if I get the money allotted for the two new cars. Because one car is between 34 and 36,000.
Yeah.
Get the sedan or the SUV. So if I get that money together, I can probably buy 4, 5, 6 cars and replace so.
you did want to keep some of the older ones, like you said, you replace motors and things and save a lot of money that way.
Even for deer accidents or small collisions, the one car that we had purchased a couple of years ago, we bought it back from the insurance and we kept it out at Collision Auto on 23. Full car and probably saved $15,000. We used the motor, transmission, interior, hood, fenders, everything. So I think we approved that last time, did we not? That you and Kathy had said that we could keep the smart rather than term.
Did we say that? I can't remember that either.
I thought so. If not, then.
Well, so you'd be increasing the number of squad cars that you have, right?
Hopefully, if we get this total, rather than buying two brand new vehicles, that total of the two vehicles would be $68,000-$70,000. Put that in the thing, and then I could buy whatever vehicles we could, and then try to buy as many as we can with that money.
The only thing with buying more than you have to, insurance coverage too would
Right.
be.
No, we're not increasing.
You're not increasing the number
No,
of
Just-
squad
we're
cars.
Just-
replacing them.
Okay, taking the ones out of
So
retirement.
there's not gonna be additional
Okay.
insurance costs or
Should
plate
be.
coverage or. Here, I want the sheriff to have what he needs tonight, so this is really kind of difficult for me, because he and Brian, I think, are really firmly convinced that there's no problem. And our insurance agent also sent us a letter saying she'd cover them. But I still have deep anxiety about salvage vehicles, so I have a feeling here, and I don't want to. Last person in the world that really makes me. But I'm very anxious about it. So it's gonna kind of be up to you, I think, Charlie.
I think if the state police do inspect them after everything's fixed, they ain't gonna pass it, or, they ain't gonna let it go out on the road and be.
The state police have to inspect them.
I want them to.
Okay, are they mechanics?
They have certain individuals that do it, or certified through the state or whatever, I don't know. I think you have to take them to break close now.
That would be my big things.
I will tell you this, and this is no disrespect, but the vehicles that they're driving now are probably a bigger hazard than what the vehicles would be, to be honest with you. And I mean that with all due respect. It's just wear and tear on them.
Yeah.
We'll probably get a vehicle or two that breaks down a week, and we're constantly repairing parts.
But we're not gonna add to the number of cars in the fleet.
Just gonna
We're
take.
replacing them.
We're replacing them, and you're gonna use parts out of the ones you're replacing.
Mainly the fenders, motors, if they got 150 some thousand, I'm not gonna, it'd be cheaper just to buy a manufactured motor and put it.
Yeah.
So probably just cosmetic stuff, mirrors, and we're gonna redo the siren,
Lights,
and
Thing on the top.
yeah, the headlights are $600. So if we can keep all that and just swap it out and
Well,
still
if
say,
you guys vote for it, I won't vote against it,
I'll make a motion that. we
but
go
I'm
ahead
not gonna vote for it either. I'm gonna abstain.
So you made a motion.
I made a motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye.
I wanna abstain.
Okay.
That way I'm not voting against it, but I'm not voting for it either.
I understand. I appreciate you guys, wanting or willingness to let us do this.
But the one thing I do want to do, and Brian and I did talk about this last time, Charlie, when we weren't here, is I want that paid for out of jail seat. There's $2 million there, so, and I want to preserve our King cap, even if they appropriate another 130,000 into that, there, we've got other things that are coming up that we need to consider.
Right. So we need a motion on that.
I make a motion, well, I think we did last time, didn't we,
Okay.
Brian?
Okay.
I think we
Pretty
did,
sure
didn't
we
we,
did.
Rachel? Make a motion last time that it would be paid for out of jail seat instead of,
Okay. All right.
Also, I get an approved amount.
well, if you go with the two SUVs, that would be
Actually, those are 38,000 a piece.
double of just 38 times 2 as
Yeah.
well.
My left car.
But if you buy a lot of cars, you're not adding to the fleet, though, right?
I'm just, we have a lot of vehicles that have a ton of miles on them. And if you get 2 a year,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
we will
Okay.
never replace
Okay,
them.
I see what you're saying.
So you're gonna pull them out of service and then just put these
I would
in?
like to have 2 or 3 at the collision place, so we can use them for parts.
Right.
And then if there's anything that's left over, I'll give them back to county. You guys can place them wherever you guys want.
Okay. Sounds good. Is that all you have for us? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Rick, I guess we just gotta,
Sign contracts with
Sign
City
on.
Crossing projects, represents $1 million in grant funds. Standard contracts with contractors. After these are done, and we'll do the full miles of our other topics, we'll have 45 miles of hot mix done. the third year of the 10-year plan, for 100 miles, we average over 10 miles a year. We want to get a little bit above that because we might not get away from.
Right.
Next one, it could be more difficult to get.
If I could just sign these, we don't have to have a motion.
What? Yes. we do.
Oh.
Move M40.
Oh. Thanks, Rick. So you got that?
Yep, this will be done in August.
Okay. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Rick.
Let's do the. Is there a motion to approve the vendor claims in the amount of $153, $153,188.85. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Is there a motion to approve the payroll claims in the amount of $260,569.34? All those in favor? Aye. Next up, we got, we need a motion to approve this agreement from CoreLogic. They want to use the GIS data. I think it says here 250, and then what's the 750? Maybe that's to the 750 is to
The total, there's a couple
Okay.
different fees.
let's see on the
That all
front.
comes to us.
Yeah.
They don't add those
WTH for state rep. Did you see that, Mark?
Yes, I did.
I make a motion to approve it. Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor? Aye. We gotta make an approval of the proclamation for the Veterans Memorial.
Oh, it was wonderful. You did a great job, Charlie. So I make a motion to approve it as it was written and spoken.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
And, in addition, if you would, move and approve, the auditor for test two, if that, so I can record it.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
I think that'll be an important part of
Yeah,
the
I want to.
historic preservation of that monument. And just so you know, we did have a photographer here that day.
I'll send you a document to record it with, you'll have to. So that
We did have a photographer there that day. Jamie Getz was the official photographer, and she donated her time and put all the photos on Facebook for free. They could be downloaded for free until I think it was June 21st. So number one, and I did buy the coffee table book that I intend to donate to the Historical Society. So. And then when we have our dedication ceremony, I'll probably do the same thing too. So,
Well, that turned out really well.
yes, it did. Very nice.
Next up, we did that meal service, didn't we?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy already saw it, but she has to bring up the meeting. Do you want to read it?
I read it for the record. You want me to read it?
Yes.
They say, Rachel received a thank you card about the meal program from Hazel and Arnold Ritchie. And it says, I want to thank you for the food delivered to our home this week. Since I'd had an accident in February and had a compound fracture of my right ankle, I have not been able to drive. I hopeful that next week the doctor will let me drive again. Thanks, and please use this money to help others. So they made a donation which went to the Community Foundation's fund for this. So and I felt like it needed to be read into the record here, and that you guys both need to be aware of it. I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
From the heart too. So I feel good about what we did, and I feel like we made a nice impact on our community with that.
Definitely helped. And then we got this is findings in order, the petition of the Argento LLC.
And basically that Mr. Nicola, who was representing that Argento, filed what he was denominated as a claim in that, and I took it as triggering probably the need to file a written finding and order in that case. And what it does basically is it recounts the hearing, and my understanding that you basically found that there was on balance, the public interest was in retaining those rights away for future use. It's funny how it takes 3 pages of legal words to convey basically what can be said in a sentence. But anyway, that's what it said. Do you have any questions about what it says? Like, if I recall, Kathy didn't participate in that.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that you were both, the two of you here in order for you to approve it. So it wasn't a specific deadline on it, but if you have a question, I'd recommend. And if you have changes, you can remove it. There's still time for that.
I mean, it's basically just stating what was said.
And it's, who attended, how that, we had the conditions of the thing being done by Zoom meeting, but everybody that was involved did attend. We did have one party who was served but didn't attend, but, and another one who did make objections that arguably aren't under the statutory requirements. However, the peculiarity of the law on this is that neighbors have to object for specific reasons, but if you're as the executive body, you can deny it simply because you don't think it's helping the public.
Right.
You don't have to have a reason beyond that. There's case law on that, so that's what I wanted to establish your basis for that decision.
Motion to
Yeah,
approve this.
the two of you are the only two that can participate in this, because you're the one who voted on it.
I make a motion that we accept the findings in the order of the Argent general institutions and vacate.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You could vote for it,
Yeah,
yeah.
aye, yes. I did read it and I thought it was well done. And I did watch the video of the meeting and it reflected what I saw on the video, so what I heard.
No, there's no requirement for it to be certified or anything like that. We're just giving a notice that there was a decision on that.
I know, Kathy, yes.
Just one thing, I did mention in the council meeting that I wanted to prepare a budget for the park board, and I did. And as you may or may not be aware, I hope to take a position in the park board at the end of the year once my term as commissioner is done. And I intend to work as hard on their projects as I have for the Veterans Memorial. But they have a zero budget, and the problem with a zero budget is often if you apply for grants, there's often a match. For example, right now they want to treat the invasive weeds into the pond or whatever, the wetlands or whatever, and there's a cost associated with that, and you can get LARA grants, which I have to check on the requirements for that, but it requires a 20% match. And a lot of these do. So they're going to be, it is an economic development tool. Nobody complains about the money that Dennis spends in the park down here. And it is beautiful and it attracts a lot of people. Hamlet gives their park board money. North Judson gives their park board money. Knox, of course, spends a lot of money. And I think these things would help enhance our community.
Right.
So they also need some sort of secretarial support, because if you're going to apply for federal grants and state grants and everything, you have to have your minutes right. We did pay for them to have a website. Somebody needs to update that website. Somebody needs to put together a Facebook page. Somebody needs to take control of the grants. So I put in $2,500 for a contract secretary that would do all those things. I put in $500 for office supplies. I put in $2,500 for maps, to print maps, because one of the things that we had talked about at the last park board meeting that we're going to put on our website is Bruce Wakeland, for example, is going to dictate a walking tour of that, and he needs maps. That would, they can download that from the website that we're going to have, that we've already paid for, but then they'll have the maps that as a point of reference. And there are other parklands that we have, and I will try to cut a deal with Rhonda Milner to give us the best possible price, but regardless, we still have to have money for that. And then I put in $30,000 for projects. One of the projects, they have a 5-year plan. They have a number of projects on that plan. And I think grants might be a little more difficult to come by next year, but regardless, I still think that they might be there and that we can tap into those, but we are going to need, match money for those. One of them we talked about was a kayak launch, and there's 3 points that we had talked about maybe being able to do that along the Yellow River. So, and that needs parking. We need also to put up some improved signage. One of the things with the trailhead that they've got out at Bass Lake and the stellar plan that they have for the restrooms and parking lot at Bass Lake, that would be a connector to that. So that needs improved signage. But anyway, to make a long story short, I've come up with a budget of $35,000. And I want to present that to the park board. And we don't approve that. They would have to, but I want the commissioner's blessing. I want you guys to vote on it and say that you support that, unless you don't.
No, I'd be fine with that. I mean, if it's gonna improve things with our parks and, people, or where people go to do stuff, I mean, it's gonna help out, so. And if we gotta get grants, that's the biggest thing, so.
Well, I managed to get that $50,000 matching grant. And I wrote for that. So most of the money for the Veterans Memorial that got raised, I raised. So, and I can assure you, I'll be working as hard on that, the park board side when I get on there as I have as a commissioner too. So, but they need a little money to work with.
Right.
So is that a motion in the second? And all in favor say aye.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. That will help as well. And I don't think I'm asking for way too much. either,
No, not true.
but it is a bad time, I do know that, so. But that's all I have.
Well, and just a little, kind of side note on that, with the Stellar project thing going away, certainly for next year, who knows what the future holds after that. The county is well situated from having been, a finalist, and, by some opinions, runner-up essentially, in that, to get, I don't think all those grants are going away. And so I really do think we're well situated to get some significant grants to do those kind of projects.
I hope so, because there's a lot on that list that got their 5-year plan and they had some really nice things identified on there. And, but they've not really been able to move forward on those, partly due to lack of money and partly, I suppose, not sure how to access some of those well. I do know how to do it, so I'll help them.
That'll be good. That'll be a big thing.
So here's the budget for the park board.
Is that all you have?
Yes, that's all.
You got anything, Marty?
I just wanted to comment that we haven't heard a lot about it here perhaps, but the opioid litigation is moving forward. It has moved forward. Well, most of the court closed largely during the pandemic period this spring. And I'm not saying anything's imminent, but I just wanted to remind you that, that is, and I feel Stark County is very well situated in that location, so I'm pretty pleased with it. I'll keep you informed when we get, something more specific.
Do you have any idea of the time frame?
It's one of those things where something could happen within, next couple of months, or it could be a couple of years, we might guess. But I guess I lean towards it maybe happening a little quicker rather than a little slower. So I'm optimistic we'll see something happen on that fairly soon.
Rachel, you got anything? Does anyone else have anything? Larry?
Yeah, Charlie, and I'm talking to you about, Oprah's got another round of COVID relief. What they're offering this time to talk to companies about is, either grant or loan funds for local businesses, small business. And I guess I'm asking this to suggest that you go ahead and apply for that. Our office would be glad to handle it. Do that, either loan or the grants, we can talk about which way we want to go later on. But the important thing is to go ahead and let Kirksey know that we'd like to do that. And we just, I'm doing that with North Judson and Kirksey's going to handle the administration for us. And just do the same thing here. But they allow you to apply for up to $250,000. You can do well, I sent you guys the slides on that presentation. You can go up to $25,000 in the loan, or you can go up to $10,000 in the grant. And if you do the loan, you have the option of at some point turning it into a grant or partial grant. But I would suggest if you do loans, but after 2 years, if they maintain the employment, that's the whole purpose of this, is maintain their employment, then you could turn part of it into, all of it into a grant. I would suggest we turn maybe a quarter of it into a grant if they maintain that. Because if they pay the rest of that back, the other 75% of what they loaned, we could keep and use for revolving loan funds. So it's an opportunity to build up funds we can continue to use to help businesses here in Stark County.
What would be what is the definition of small business for, under this agreement? I mean, would like Country Kettle Restaurant qualify for a $10,000 grant?
Well, it would be whatever amount we would decide, would have to be up to 10,000. Every restaurant, you know. there was-
Every mom and pop shop that we've got would be, the popcorn place might be eligible for a,
The question I want to know is geographical, is, I mean, the city of Knox.
Oh, that's right,
Those
that'd
may
be City of
within
Knox.
jurisdiction. I mean, I'm not saying for sure,
yes,
but
I think you're
I mean,
right.
obviously, our food delivery service serve people even that were in the municipalities, but for
Right,
business,
right.
maybe where it's cited, so I'm
Right,
not saying I know
right.
the
For
answer, I'm just
instance,
saying I
you're
know
right.
to ask, you know.
Country Kettle Restaurant would be in the City of Knox, and so with
What do
popcorn
you think
place,
the
but
answer is
like,
to that? Because I just assumed county conservative people could do the same.
Well, yeah,
the
that's a
City
good
of Knox
question. I
get
mean, I'm kind of wondering because City of Knox, for example, already did a 250,000. And I don't think that it's likely that the, you know, for the first round, I don't think it's likely OCA would approve another one from a different municipality, but I don't know the answer for sure. It's a question more than an answer, right? My guess is that the municipality where the business is cited is the one that would be doing that,
it
not.
would have to be the ones that are outside the jurisdiction of the municipalities. In other
Right,
words,
I mean,
what you're
and
saying.
you know, the thing about this is, it is a little bit of it's not a completely clear question, because obviously voters in the city of Knox vote for commissioner, right?
Right.
So, you know, but yet your authority is not as extensive in the, you know, in the municipality as it is outside the municipality. So that's just one that we need to inquire into. My inclination is that probably the relief to businesses is going to go where they're physically cited, but.
Well, so is there, what is the top limit of a small business? For example, I think there's I can't remember the name of it, but the old Horse Palace, there's a little factory there.
The top is,
What is the top, you know, if there's no bottom limit to what a small business is?
yeah,
I mean, there's some sort of definition about what constitutes a small business, and usually it's revenues or something.
if it's number, in this case, I think it's the number of employees, and I guess, I don't know the answer to that right off the top of my head. I can look through this quick, but,
Well, I think that'd be important to
I
know.
think everybody, I think it's something like 100 people or less, but I don't know.
The numbers employed.
Nearly, okay, small business in this case, 100 employees or less.
100 employees or
Well,
less.
actually, some of the industry could qualify if they so needed it. And I don't know if the mayor even approached them, this was just.
I took it that this was just for the City of Knox, which would include most of the industrial park.
Right.
But there are businesses outside of that Knox Industrial Park that probably were not, for example, the factory in Hamlet, West or whatever, they're not the city limits, or East, I mean.
They're over 100.
Oh, they're over 100.
With, there may be a caveat there, some of their employees are newer ones, they run through employment agencies. So they may not have technically 100.
Well, there's probably some that would benefit.
Yeah.
If nothing else, the local restaurants would, because they suffered tremendously, I
Small
think.
retail got hurt. And there are some other small retail. There, Otis, May Engineering, they were talking about the other side of those pits, and I mean, they got hammered on this, because they had like $500,000 worth of invoices sitting on the books, and this thing hit. They had several exhibits made, ready to go, and some actually at shows, and they're not going to collect a lot of money. So that's somebody that more of it, what I consider more industry, certainly benefited.
And I'm assuming if we applied for this and we were awarded for this, if we made a loan, for instance, to one of the businesses for, say, $25,000, and they failed to pay it back, they went bankrupt or something, the county would not be on the hook for that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Except to the extent if you wanted to do a match. And there are points, this is a.
We don't have any money for a match.
This is a competitive, and then maybe you wouldn't do a match. But this is a competitive program versus the one they had earlier, when you guys got the one for food delivery. That was just, hey, ask for it, we'll give it to you. We think it's a good project. This one is competitive. So we're gonna want to get as many points as we can. One way to give points is to provide a match.
We don't have, I mean, you heard the discussion earlier where everybody's gonna be asked to cut. We don't have the money for a match, I can tell you that right now.
We offer this. We've committed, we hold in reserve about 50,000 to use for this type of stuff anyway.
On our contract, you mean? Based on our contract, is that what you're talking about?
We already had that on the board, but yeah, based on the contract, that's in the contract, plus we were already set aside 50,000. We wanted to establish it with all of those. We had trouble, part of our group felt like, hey, that's stuff we don't want to do. We've got it set up, we're gonna do that. If we provide the match, we could, 250,000, 20% of that is 50,000. So we could provide it, but I would want, if we were going to do that, I would want to have the understanding that once the loans were paid off, those funds would come back into the fund if we're handling, to do this for the county.
When's the deadline on the project on this?
They just extended it 2 weeks, and I don't know exactly what it is. We've got a little
Well,
bit-
we have to, I hear you. I'm interested. I would have some degree of interest. It doesn't hurt to apply, but we have to work out those kind of details. When you say we want that money to come back, you want that money to come back to you with interest? And how would that affect the county's bottom line? All those things we have to take into consideration.
The county would, if I provided the match, the county would have no investment in it. 80% would come from Oprah, 20% would come from
Right,
foundation.
right.
And then, interest is whatever we want to put on the loan. My suggestion is for this period of time, COVID, I would do it 0 interest, and then do about a 25% forgiveness after 2 years if they maintain their employment. So any money that we would get loaned out would all be coming back and put in this
Revolving fund.
And then going forward with that, we would have interest rates like we would ordinarily and so forth.
I guess I have to ask. I've heard through the grapevine that you guys have a shortage in your budget for next year.
We have to. Yes.
So how would that affect?
We have some money that we reserve for specific things. And this is one of them. We've got a certain amount of money in CDs. And we've said, we have that in our contract, there's 50,000.
But our contract expires in the year, you do know that. Remember that.
You telling me we're not gonna have one next year?
No, I didn't say you're not gonna have another one next year because we still have to hire somebody to come and do the evaluation for the economic development. That's in our contract too. So we probably need to get on that now. So we have that assessment, which might be beneficial to you as well.
Oh, absolutely. I would like to have that. I think we do some good work. And I think you can show if you had that. It shows we don't, you need to know that too.
Well, and as you do you.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to do, your own assessment of your own self. Often that's difficult.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
I don't know, what do you guys think? I like the idea of trying to help our local businesses and stuff like that, but I'm not as clear on some of the, quite as clear on some of the terms.
A little suggestion. And I think one of the things is to it would be, I think it'd be helpful to you to know exactly what businesses would qualify for one from the county. I mean, you know, and what other options there, what other opportunities there might be there. Once again, I talked to the sheriff here earlier about whether there's any funds, you know, because that's also, that's an impact that, you know, is pretty direct too. I don't know if there's any crossover on, that's the whole point, I don't know. It'd be nice to know, have a little more detail on what, you know, what kinds of things could be supported. You know, obviously the restaurant sector has been hit hard. And there's restaurants that aren't in incorporated area. But when we went through the first round, that was part of my thinking was, I mean, I thought, at first I was kind of felt like, well, Max got such a big chunk of it, but then when you looked at it, a very significant portion of the small businesses in the county are actually in the municipality of Knox, right? And Northchester could have done it, and they did, and I think that was just the decision they made, that wasn't really the right thing for them at that time. So actually that got done, even though it may have seemed out of balance, that Knox got much more than Stark County did in terms of revenue, but then again, actually that kind of made sense because that's where many of the most impacted businesses were located, right? So I guess I would say, to me, I'm looking more information on what, you know, what kinds of things are the subject to,
yes, I agree with that. What would we be eligible to do a collaborative project with Hamlet? Because I didn't hear you mention that Hamlet was going to do anything, and I didn't hear you say Judson. You said Judson is going to apply. Could we do a collaborative project with Hamlet, for instance? They probably don't have the wherewithal to help themselves, and there's a couple of restaurants and businesses there that might. The feed mill, to be clear, though, and Frank is not one of them. His business surged, so. For those of you that my husband owns the feed mill in Hamlet. So I'm not asking about Hamlet to have to benefit my husband, in case anybody's wondering about that, because he didn't need help. He was rubbing his hands together, so.
I can pose that question to Chair White. Hamlet doesn't have a couple restaurants, not many businesses.
There are a few more than you realize, I think. Small businesses there.
What I was going to say is collaborating, do you want them to be a partner in it, or are you saying that this branch, if we got one here for the county, would help with that?
I'd like to see it help with Hamlet, and they could collaborate with us. I mean, I don't mind having a collaboration. But I like Marty's suggestion too, to find out which businesses in that, you know, would benefit.
Yeah. What, you started to say something about the sheriff in that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the rules are on this, and we know that we have, you know, one of the things I've seen on these is that, you know, you have to be able to document the impact of COVID pandemic. And one of the clear things we can document at the county level is that the therapeutic community stopped accepting new participants from Westville Prison, which was the most numerous of the therapeutic community members, and that was directly due to the COVID-19 pandemic, because there was an outbreak in the prison there. And so that's cost significant revenue to the county to help support the jail. I don't know if, and there may be another program out there somewhere, but you know, that's a clear impact that I think.
I don't think, Marty, I don't think they qualify.
It's not a small business in this case.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I get for-profit business.
Right.
Jail. You would think it's jail.
No, I didn't figure it did, but I thought, you know, it'd be worth looking at.
I can tell you this.
Yeah.
It has to be
For-profit business. Yeah. And it could be, but it could be any business. It doesn't have to be retail or.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like we talked a minute about something.
Should help.
There should be like a child, like one of the sectors that's been affected too is like child care. And, child care, because a lot of times, but some of them were like, they're operating on a real small margin in the first place, kind of like restaurants.
And,
Yeah, those.
that's another area that there might be some people that needs help.
Some of those certainly out in.
Them going out of business, the difference between. you know,
Right, that's
make
exactly what I was thinking, what we want to make sure we got on the list, so, you know. I'm I'm interested in the geographic issue, I'm not sure, you know, it's a weird paradox, because, like I said, the commissioners are elected by the whole county, not unincorporated portion, but there's some areas of jurisdiction they don't have anymore. You know, so I'm sure how that works. And also you want to play this so that you maximize the amount. I mean, like, for example, when Stark County did a separate one in Knox, that was beneficial because those are two separate units, and even though there's overlap, you know, you were able to get like support in the city of Knox, both from the county and the city.
Right.
What other questions would you have?
Those are the biggest ones I can think of right off the top of my head, you know. I want to make sure that there's no liability to the county if something didn't get paid back, which it doesn't sound like there wouldn't be. And the understanding that we don't have any extra dollars to put into a match to increase the points.
We can do that, Marty. I guess my question would be, can we stipulate some way that question for Older and Kirksey, that once the loans are paid off, then instead of going into the county general fund, it would come into the revolving loan fund.
I agree to that. I'd be interested in that if the county could help to control that.
They have 4 seats on the board of directors.
I know, but don't get me started on that, Larry.
Well, you got something.
Yeah. My question on that would be, a lot of times when you do the match flow, that's usually the part of your grant, where you're going to be able to get that back out of that after you get the grant. A lot of times that has to go to the project and the grant to do it work. Usually those funds you put up for your match money or not, you're usually taking back to the bank account. So usually that's what you're project.
Well, this is a little bit different kind of project where there's going to be a return on the investment, where in most of the projects you're talking about, there's not. Like the Lair grant I was talking about for the forest, that'd be a 20% match, but there's not going to be any potential for funds to come back. It's just a project, you pay the bills and then you're done. But right.
That was a specific question on their webinar, that, you know, once you get loans are paid, you need to keep that money. And they said, so certainly, if you have something like a revolving loan fund, you put those in, you can have all that loan money back.
Well, I'd rather see a different structure than you have 4 seats on the board, to be honest with you. I think that gives the county some better say in how that revolving fund is used in the future. I don't have any objection to you getting your 50,000 back, but anything above and beyond that, I guess.
No, I mean, I think you treat their investment, you know, separately. Than,
yes, I'm not trying to steal your money.
And even you would think maybe you even get some preference to return on the investment. You know, some of these are sort of non-recourse loans, I think, right? And meaning that you know, if that, like you say, if the organization goes bankrupt, then there's a risk. Some will probably. Yeah. I mean, just to be blunt about it, some will. And then in those cases, those are just going to be discharged, probably. Right.
I'm not trying to, you know, keep the county out of it. I just want trying to keep our involvement in it, because I think we can run that. It's a way for us to have an involved loan fund that goes on. We're talking about losing loans. You start with 50,000, and you've got that reserve, and over time you lose loans. Now you have successful loans, and that helps local economies, so it's a good thing, but you're right about those losses. And if our commitment is gone, this is a way for us to build funds for the county to have for revolving loan funds.
Well, that's how I'd like to see it structured, so that the county has control of that. I think you should get your 50,000 back, but I'd much rather have the county have control of that than a joint thing, or 4 seats, like I say, on the board. That would not cut it for me.
Are you suggesting that the county would manage the fund then?
Yes, I guess I am suggesting that. The auditor, I think we could probably get direction from the DLGF. The auditor could probably set that up in a separate fund. I think we could come up with some rules on how that would be used, and I think it could be a joint decision between the council and the commissioners, maybe with recommendation from the economic development. I mean, I don't know, to be honest, I don't know that we're going to have a commitment with your organization throughout eternity. The government is likely to last far longer than your organization is. So yes, that's what I'm suggesting.
You participation on our part in this program?
We'd have to discuss how that would work. I don't know that we'd have to discuss how that would work.
You really need to see the specific rules. I mean, honestly, it's kind of hard. I can't even say what
I like the idea of having a revolving loan fund or something like that, but I feel like you can't get the loan, we get the loan, or we get the grant. So I feel like the county should be the one, I know, to handle that. I know a lot of people think that the people that sit on these boards don't have the qualifications to do something like that, but let me remind you, I have a master's degree from Notre Dame. I do know how to manage that kind of money. Dave Pearman knows how to manage that kind of money. I think Brad Hazelton knows how to manage that kind of money. We do have good folks on these boards that are capable of managing that money. So I just think that we should manage it. That's all I'm saying. Nothing against you or the economic, and that's one of the problems when you have governing bodies in a small community. It becomes very personal because I know you and you're a good guy and you know me and you think I'm a great person, but when you come and you have differences, then boy, pretty soon it destroys. Then you hate each other. So I mean, I hate for that to happen, but I don't disagree with that entirely. But I would need to feel comfortable with the level of participation that might be. And again, the government's probably going to outlast the Stark County Economic Development Foundation. So I don't know that we need that participation in perpetuity by any stretch of the imagination.
As far as this grant here, I would suggest you let us manage it, and at the end of the period, when those loans are paid back, we can go, I think it's from 3 to 5 years on the duration of those loans. Instead of 5-year loans. In 5 years, and that's going to be finished. And the monies that would come back then would go into the revolving loan fund that the county would manage if you wanted from there on forward, or to be determined how to set up.
Well, I think before we apply for this, we need to make sure we're all on the same page on how that might look. If we've got 2 weeks, then I'm not opposed.
We've got more time than that, a little more time. I'm not sure what I'll get you.
So we could make a decision at our next meeting. We could sit down, maybe Marty and one of us here could sit down, and maybe somebody from the council, 1 or 2 from the council, to sit down and talk about how that might work if we did do it, and then come to agreement, and then the commissioners can decide at our next meeting. Okay. Then I would make a motion that we table the discussion till our next meeting, pending formal meetings between those parties that I mentioned to discuss how things might work, and then we can present it here at our next meeting.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone else have anything for us? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Who are you?
Jackie Derby.
Oh, Jackie Derby! I forgot you were coming. Oh my God! I should have. And I should have. I meant to introduce you to the council too. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. This is Tom Dermody's wife. She works for Senator Ron.
Okay.
And she had messaged me about coming to the meeting today, and I thought, who is that lady? I thought, who